Thank you, Mr. President. Yesterday, the Jewish people marked the end of Passover. Passover is the holiday in which we celebrate our first step to nationhood, the exodus from slavery in Egypt and the beginning of our ancestors' journey to the land of Israel. The Jewish people set out for the Promised Land 3,500 years ago. On Passover, Jewish people around the globe gather together at the Seder, our special holiday meal, to tell the story of our liberation. We remind ourselves of the suffering we endured, the generations-long hardships we survived on the road to salvation. We remember this pain by eating what we call matzah, the bread of affliction, and maror, the bitter herbs. And we dip our food in salt water. Why? To commemorate our tears. Yet, this year, we did not need bitter herbs and salt water to remember the pain. Because this year, every Jewish family had an empty hole, a hole in their hearts. This year, every Jew focused on the atrocities of October 7th and the suffering of the Israeli hostages held in Hamas terror tunnels. We couldn't really celebrate our ancestors' liberation while our brothers and sisters are still waiting to be freed from the Hamas monsters. Yet, as my people marked this Passover with grief, the UN is again seeking to reward the perpetrators of the horrors. The UN couldn't care less about Israel. To hell with our safety, to hell with our future, and to hell with our hostages. The General Assembly is fueled by nothing other than political interests. Not by the UN Charter, not by morality. And nothing exemplifies the UN's rotten values more than the advancement of a Palestinian statehood. No, nothing can reward and incentivize the terrorists that committed the October 7th massacre more than this discussion here today. To this day, you have not even condemned Hamas, not even once. To this day, not a single UN initiative has been taken for the sake of the hostages, the Israeli hostages. Yet instead, this body has focused only on recognizing a Palestinian terror state, unilaterally, an entity fueled by Jewish genocide, by terror, by Nazi-like incitement. You know, by advancing a Palestinian state, you are telling the child-murdering Hamas rapists that terror pays off. You have done nothing for the victims, but have mobilized for the murderers. It makes me want to vomit. Yes, vomit. You know that the Palestinian Authority doesn't meet the criteria for statehood. No Palestinian leader, not a single one of them, has even condemned Hamas or their massacre. You prefer another rogue state, and to hell with the Jewish state. The Palestinian Authority is paying salaries, think of it, paying salaries to the very terrorists that invaded Israel and murdered 1,200 innocent Israelis. This is who you want to grant statehood to? The Palestinians have rejected in the past every peace plan ever made, and they continue to support terror and boycott any negotiations. And now they know that their rejectionism pays off. Look at this discussion. And if you need more proof, well, take a drive to Columbia University or to New York University. Listen to the murderous cries of the pro-Palestinian mobs. Look at their violence. Hear their calls for the genocide of Jews and Israelis. From the river to the sea, these mobs across the United States and Europe, they expose the truth. They have removed the mask of the Palestinian authorities' lies. The anti-Semites failed to annihilate us during the Holocaust. They failed in 1948, in 1967, and in 1973. But today, they are attempting again. This time not only through terror and war, like we've seen on October 7th, but also through UN weaponization and the exploitation of UN bodies. That's how they want to achieve their goal. And here is what they scream, and I quote, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." So for those of you that automatically vote against Israel with no understanding, I'll explain. They want a Palestine that stretches from the Jordan River, Israel's eastern border, to the Mediterranean Sea, Israel's western border. A free Palestine means that Israel doesn't exist. That's what they mean. We always knew that Hamas hides in schools. We just didn't realize that it's not only schools in Gaza, it's also Harvard, Columbia, and many elite universities. This is what we hear at academic institutions across the world, and they directly represent the Palestinians' goal. The only solution for them is a single Palestinian state that is Judenrein, Jew-free, from the river to the sea, achieved through repeated October 7th against Israel and also against Jews. And you here are collaborating with them and encouraging their racism and anti-Semitism. Just as Germany was the world capital of science and culture, yet it was there that Nazism was born and spread. History is now repeating itself. And God's promises, God's promise is what has stood by our ancestors and us. For it was not only one man that rose up to destroy us, but in every generation people rise up to destroy us, and God saves us from their hands. Israel is here to stay. Thank you, Mr. President.